rabbis of yesteryear. Now happens to be this week the Hilula, I believe, of a famous rabbi from the Crete area in of itself. Rabbi, I don't think we mentioned much on various occasions before. His name was Rabbi Abraham Iblagon, very famous rabbi. He lived between the years 1846 till 1933. He was about 84 years of age at the time he passed away. Now, seemingly, I believe his Hilula is marked on the 2nd of Cheshvan. Naturally, it happens to have been on that specific date, so that's very, very interesting enough. And he was a very great Rabbi of Crete, respectively. And I think we mentioned him maybe a couple of times before here on this series, but it's always important to mention him again. Crete, where is that? That happens to be, I believe, an area. It's fifth largest island in the Crete Mediterranean, respectively. Okay, so let's explore a few of the highlights of famous Rabbi's life. Now, he was, as before, born in the year 1846. That happened to be, we're talking about 180 years ago here from the time of recording. Kunolad B'Kushta, B'Shnat Tafresh Nun. So he was born in Kushta in Turkey at that point in time. L'mishpacha she'kochol hanireh motza ma'ira al Agon, respectively. Shebe al Agon. Okay, so so that's very interesting. A family that would originate, I think, from a town, I think in the Costa, respectively, over there. Maybe he was born around that specific place in time. Very, very interesting enough. So I think Aragon is northeastern Spain. I think it borders both France to north and Catalina on the east, Valencia to the south, and La Mancha and Castile Leon, respectively. All those various different territories, let's just say, in of itself. So he was came from that specific place in himself. So very, very interesting. He would actually be ordained as a rabbi. I believe he was only 22 years of age at that stage in time, which is one important fact, let's just say, within regards to him. And you would start becoming a mohel, rabbi that will perform brit milah, circumcisions. Kihen karav b'chanya keratim. So he'll be appointed the rabbi of this area of Chana. So where is this? China. I hope I pronounce it correctly. This happens to be an area, to be precise, called Shania. Also, I think sometimes romanized as Hania. It's a city in Greece and the capital of Chania, a regional unit, respectively. I think there's only about 11,375 people living there just in recent years in of itself, respectively, but it does have a rich history in of itself, so that's what's reported over, so that's very interesting. So I don't think we actually spoke about this specific locale in of itself, but it's always good to speak about other places and to spread our wings, let's just say, itself. Okay, so Sham kihen karav kilata keratim b'meshech 58 shanim, for 58 years, a staggering period of time. He'll become, I believe, the rabbi over there. That will make him one of the largest without a doubt in Jewish history, largest running people inside the specific locale, without a doubt, in Jewish history, which I think is very, very important to point out. I think we mentioned a few other rabbis here before that would also have long periods of time, but 58 years is definitely it spans more than 2 generations, let's just say. Sham kihen karav kilata 58 shanim, will be 58 years of rabbi at the congregation. Hitkatev im chachmei dora, he would write and correspond with the great rabbis of his generations. Benehem Rabbi Rachamim Nisim Yitzchak Pelagi. So he was very close with the Rabbi Rachamim Nisim Yitzchak Pelagi. Another rabbi I believe we've spoken about here on various occasions before. Let's just say something about Rabbi Rachamim in itself. He himself was born in the year 1814. He passed away in 1907. I think 4th of Nisan was his Hiluli. He was the head of Jewish court in Izmir. He was the author of the Yafeh Lelev, and he was the second son of the famous Rabbi Chaim Pelagi, we mentioned about on various occasions before. He was also an author. He authored many different Torah colossal works. Much of it would actually encompass the name Yafeh to it in of itself. So that's very, very interesting. It was actually known as the Rani, Reish Nun Yud, and was a very, very important, let's just say, rabbi of his point in time. He passed away anyway in the year 1907, right towards the beginning of the 20th century. So he was very much corresponding with him at that stage in time. Rabbi, let's just say, the famous Rabbi Abraham Iblagon was. So let's continue over there. So there's much more we can say within regards to him. Shukotevlo. So I think Rabbi Pelagi would actually mention about him. Harav kolel sifra Rabbi Vayikira. סולת נקייה, כמו Rabbi Iblagon in Yair l'Olamei al-Mayar, just speaking about, how he lights up the entire world. And I think it's mentioning of them, Rabbi Moshe Baraki, if I'm not mistaken, I think quoting Siman Chet, the 8th Siman in himself, simple, I think on page Aresh Pei. Hey, very interesting. Everyone tuning in, we're speaking about Rabbi Abraham Iblagon, who happens to speak his Hilula. I'm just going to take a quick half-minute break. I'll be back in half a minute, so sorry about just the delay over here. Just give me a half-minute break, friends. Okay, sorry about the delay over here, everyone. Friends, we're recording a video at the moment here about the history of Rabbi Abraham Iblagon. Happens to be his Hilula here on just here at the start of the Hebrew month of Cheshvan. So let's continue speaking of. So we spoke about how he was corresponding with Rabbi Rachamim Nissim Yitzchak Pelagi, who would write about him. Let's say a bit more with him about him. Shelet b'mispar safot v'natzat לטורקיה ולמערב אירופה. בשליחות קהילתו, ונפגש עם סולטן טורקיה, מלך יוון, מלך איטליה, הצל במוות 28 משפחות של יוונים נוצרים, ועל כך עונק לו אות צלב הזהב. So what's it saying over here? נשלח, I continue saying in Hebrew, נשלח על ידי ממשלת יוון לשליחות סודית בפריז, כדי להשפיע על יהדות העולם לטובות יוון. סייע לפלטי אהבת ישראל במלחמת העולם הראשונה. עת הגיעו לחניה בכ"ז אלול ה' תר"ש עין ה'. So what's friends basically just some of what he's saying over here. He obviously, we stated before, he would correspond with Rabbi Nissim Yitzchak Pelagi. We quoted the memoir of Rabbi Moshe Baraki respectively over there. We have to mention he spoke several languages. Rabbi Abraham Iblagon did. So he was very, very well linguistic, let's just say himself. He would travel to Turkey and Western Europe on behalf of his community. He would meet the Sultan of Turkey, the King of Greece, and the King of Italy. Reported over, he would save 28 families of, I think, connected Christian Greeks, I think, from death, and so on and so forth. He would be awarded the Golden Cross, if I'm not mistaken, another, let's say, medal, recognition from that specific government. He would assist refugees and would influence world Jewry, let's just say, at that window of time. That's something that we have to state about. Now, it's actually been quoted about him over here, actually in quite detail. I think in Toldot Eliyahu in pages 70 to 71, it will say, V'arav Rashi shel ha'ir Ma'alat Raga Yashish Rav Abraham Iblagon והגביר הנכבד, סימן משה מון רבו, באו לנמל, וקיבלו את המהרגים בסבר פנים יפות, ויסדרו אותם לפי שעה לילה הראשונה, ויתנו להם מקום לינה וארוחת ערב, ולמחרת היום בא הקונסול האנגלי, וקיבל המהרגים בכבוד גדול ומפנים יפות, וישכר להם דירות ויקצב להם תמיכה יומית. כל ימי שבתם בעיר עינון זין עד חודש, I think it was, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, עד חודש ניסן, שנת תר"ש ע"ח, שאז הם נסעו לאי קיפרוס, כשמוע הקונסול מפי הרב איבלאגון, רב מוץ בעיר כעניה, את שמה הרגע, מר אבי כי הוא מראשי רבנים של טבריה, וכי הוא הדין מוץ שמה. תיקף מיני אותו מטעם הממשלה האנגלית, להיות ראש ומנהל לכל הגולים עמו, ולצען מוריתו וילדון, ולהורות ביניהם. הוא קבע ישיבתו תמיד בבית מדרשו של הרב אבלגון, הנ"ל תעודת כתובה וחתומה, ומקוימת מקונסול המעידה. So what's it saying here? So a large quotation, let's just say, in of itself, where it talks about him. And the chief rabbi, the venerable Rabbi Abraham Iblagon, the venerable Sir Moshe Monverevo, came to the port, received immigrants with great respect and kindness, settled them according to the time of the first night, gave them a place to sleep and dinner, and next day the English consul came and received immigrants with great respect and kindness, rented them apartments and allocated them daily support. All their Shabbats in the city, the Sabbaths in the city, of the above mentioned until the month, I think, of Nisan, that specific year, where they would travel to the island of Cyprus. When the consul heard from Rabbi Iblagon, the rabbi and the motz of the city in itself, of Chania, was one of the chief rabbis of Tiberias, that he was a Dayan and a motz there, he immediately appointed him on behalf of the English government to be the head and administrator of all exiles with him, and to, let's say, shepherd his flock, and to judge and instruct among the people. He always established his meeting place in the house of the Medrash of Rabbi Iblagon, the rabbi of the above-mentioned written document and signed certificate by the council of the witnessing country. We're just reading something of the Chronicles of Eliah, I think from page 70-71 within regards to that. It's an interesting article over there. So let's continue speaking about the rabbi. It continues over here, this article just using Wikipedia as a source. כמו כן עסק רבות בדאגה לחינוכם הדתי של ילדי הפליטים. So he was very worried with in regards to the level of education, religious education of the refugees' children. He made sure that there will be a strongish, Torah, let's just say, education in of itself. I think there was 20. I believe there was 25 students over there. חציים נתינים צרפתים וחצי אנגלים. I think half was French, half was English. והשני בכפר חלפה, בו שוכנו מרבית הפליטים הצרפתים, ובית הספר שהקים למדו 60 תלמידים. There will be 60 students over there, הוא גם ניתן בכישרונות אומנותיים, ונהגו להעניק לדרושי שלמה מתנות מעשה ידיו. I think come out the year 1896, שלח ספר תורה בכתב יד לברון גוסטה דה רוטשילד. I think connected very much with Gustav da Rothschild. A Sefer Torah will be sent. Li'uloi nishmato bito hamnucha. And I think come with the year 1898 it was. He'nik l'Rav Rashi shel Hatzarfat. His name was Rabbi Tzadok Cohen. I think a rabbi we've spoken about here on this series before. Shisha zechochiot meleot v'tzvot min haba liadi. So let's say something about Rabbi Tzadok Cohen. He was a let's say spiritual leader of the French Jewish community. He was a rabbi of Paris in his time, chief rabbi of Paris between 1889 to 1905. He was rabbi that would be, I think he was very much connected with Hibat Sion also. He was very much influential, or within regards to that, he had a strong connection with the Rothschild family. I believe also that's something that we have to also speak about over there. I'll continue the article here back in Wikipedia. But Pros HaChagim b'shnat 1905 שיגל למזכיר כי"ח שלושה חפצים קטנים מעשה ידיו לחולקים בין בני משפחו, וכתב את 10 הדיברות על גרעין חיטה, סבר כי יש להספיק כל האפשר את מנהגי הדת היהודית לגויים כפתרון לאנטישמיות, ואף כתב על כך מסע בשם יין רקח. So very interesting, write something on the name of the Yain Rekach, respectively. Okay, let's try and transliterate this a little bit over there. He was in contact with the Rav Tzadok Cohen, was a chief rabbi of France, respectively, and reported you write the 10 Commandments on a grain of wheat, and making it to be shared among the family in of itself. And he was very much wanted to find solutions with regards to problems of anti-Semitism of itself, because it's really seemingly paining him that this would happen. Now, he passed away in the Hebrew month of Cheshvan, back in the Hei Tafresh Tzadik Dal, like we mentioned about just above. I believe it was on the 2nd of Cheshvan, just after Rosh Chodesh, new month of this place. Now, he got married to Batsheva. She came from the Bayit Ka'ariyot, I believe that family name over there. They would have 4 children: Yaakov, Nisim David, Shalom, and Yehuda. I think also Victoria, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be, if I'm not mistaken, four boys and one girl over there. Might be mistaken on that, so please, anyone knows. He left us with some Torah author workships, which we're going to speak about in a minute. Now, among them including Nichnas Yain. This was printed in Kushta, in the Tafresh Ein Bet. It was Seder, let's just say, a book. Limud Lagot Bo B'Shnat HaShiv'im. I think Yain Gematria 70, itself respectively. Another book, Hayayin Rekach. This was printed, I believe, in Bnei Brak, in Tafshin Nutet. Sifurat Shel Antishmeot, Veshel Alilot Hadam, V'meshech Hadorot V'yachas HaTorah LeTofa'ah. And then another writing he wrote was the Chibur B'chtav Yad B'Sfriya Halumiyit, Mispar 3739. Ubo Sipor Kortea Shel HaKilat Yudit Be'Kartim. We're talking about the Crete Jewish community. Hakolel Pratim Al Klal. Ha'afkatim Al Chaye HaYudim B'Kilat Karatim. They're talking about really the Crete Jewish community. וכן על השפעות הפוליטיקה. סולטן העות'מאנית, מרד יוונים עליה. I think it was printed, נתפס בפעמיים 37, if I'm not mistaken. Very interesting enough. So that's great rabbi. Let's speak a bit more about him over here. Actually looking at his preface of his book. I think it was printed in 1912 in Kushta in Istanbul, respectively. Over there, that's something that we have to point out over here. So as we know before, he was born, I think his mother's name, if I'm not mistaken, was Kalo Arditi, from the Arditi family, which we mentioned about before. His father was Chacham David Iblagon. So very, very interesting enough. So that's something else that we have to point out. But seemingly, according to everyone, he was born around the year 1846. It says over here now in the Jaime website, Chacham Avraham Iblagon Nolad Imo Kalo Arditi. La'aviv Chacham David Iblagon. I think in 1846 in Kushta, as we mentioned before. Come on, 1868 it was, just to clarify. He was ordained to the rabbinate. We mentioned he was 22 years of age. He would become a sofer, also a scribe, a sofer uman, as they say, and a mohem. Mohem we mentioned before. 1876, he would go on to work, l'shamash, b'kodesh be'id karitim. He would go on to work in the island of Crete. V'aya robetz tachat masakila, la'amod lifnei ha'adar l'shartim. חכם אברהם בכור איבלאגון, כמנהיגה הרוחני של הקהילה, עמד לייצגה גם תוך סיכון עצמי. So he was very taking on many different undertakings, let's just say, himself, just as this website itself is testifying over here, the importance of the great work that he did, and that's something that we have to point out. And he goes on saying, בזמן מלחמת העולם הראשונה ולאחריה במלחמת יוון טורקיה, הוא היה עסוק בדאגה לחינוכם הדתי של ילדי הפליטים במלחמת העולם הראשון. יסד למענם שני בתי ספר. So we'll open up 2 schools as before, especially during the time period of the First World War. It was a turbulent time, so he was actually worried about the spiritual, let's just say, welfare of the Jewish community of that specific area in itself. He would have a large library. He would have the Jewish newspapers were common in those days. He got sent to him, and he was fluent in several languages, as we mentioned about before, and his education was broad and rich. That's something else that we have to point out. They're also pointing out, and really do worry about the religious education in of itself. That was at that stage in time major issue. I definitely would believe that he would have felt that it was in of itself. He would have a large library and various newspapers again. מקום מושבו של חכם אברהם בכור איבלגון היה בחניה בירת האי. So he was obviously working in an island in of itself, which I mentioned about before. That was the name of his residence, was Chania, the capital of the island. Now, as we mentioned before, he would get married to Rabbanit, but Sheva he would get married to, obviously from the Kariot family in himself. They would have 4 sons and a daughter. As we mentioned before, Yaakov, Nisim, David, Shalom, Yehuda, and Victoria, as we mentioned before. Now, friends, I'm going to take a short break for another minute. But in the meantime, please just wait this space, and I'll be back in literally half a minute, friends. Yeah, thanks everyone for being patient. It is quite late at night, but we're recording a live video at the moment on the history of great Rabbi over here. So just to go back to him, we know that Makom Moshvo shel Chacham Abraham Iblagon haya b'Chanayat birat ha'isi. He was obviously very much of the Chanaya area of the island. Hu nasali isha et bat Sheva lebeit Kario. What we mentioned before, he had 4 sons and daughter with them. We mentioned their names. Mikol chiburov rak sifro nichnasein hosek b'limud ha'ro'ui le'adam nichnas l'shnato ha'zveim or ha'shivim respectively. Nidvas, I think, was printed in the year 1912, and I think bo b'tzumunato, if I'm not mistaken. But Masah shektav yain harekach. So while he in his travellings, he would write the yain harekach. Shod not b'ktav yad. Katav al hashtal shalot alilot adam b'maot hakodmot ad al alilat be'alis, if I'm not mistaken. Now he passed away, as before, in the year 1933 inside this island of in Crete, in Kanaya respectively. And let's explore a few of the highlights from his book, because he had a famous book. Now, it's actually interesting. Before we state anything, there's a special book out there. I'm not sure which language it's in. It's called Rabbi Abraham Iblagon and the Cretan Jury, an autobiography of letters and articles, I think brought from Bracha Rivlin Ardosh, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was printed in the year 1993. A whole massive article over here. It contains literally hundreds of pages within regards to him, maybe within regards to reports, different, let's just say, writings within regards to him, communications, who he was speaking to, and so on and so forth. It just chronicle just basically everything that he did, and quotes various different secular sources also to this book, including Jewish Chronicle, Alliance Israel, Israelites Universal, and various other places also. Maybe that will be a class onto his own, but we won't be able to read all 376 pages now. It would be difficult also to do a summary within regards to that, but that's it's good as a point of resource that there was such a book over here if anyone was interested in researching more within regards to that. It counted like 376 pages respectively. So very, very interesting. So I'll recommend people to look in that. That is for sure. Anyone joining in, we're exploring the history of Rabbi Abraham Iblagon, who was a famous historiographer. He was a rabbi in Crete, in the island itself, a famous posek. So please, anyone that's joining and you're new to the video, please subscribe to the channel. That's the first thing I'm asking for, and join our community. So just subscribe, please, and we'll really, really appreciate it. We've got fantastic content over here. Let's explore a few of the highlights of his book over here. Great Torah books in of itself. Now, one of the teachings come from his Sefer, I think from pages 128 to 129, in the Birkat Rivlin, I think quoted over here. It says, Chov mutal al Rabbi l'ishtatef b'tzarat hatzibur. The importance, if there's a pain of a congregation, that the rabbi of the city will have to partner up in the pain over there to really, it will help alleviate, let's just say, the pain. Another teaching he will give, I think it was actually printed through the Machon Yad Ben Tzvi, if I'm not mistaken, in 1989, in page 129. Harab Anachnu Iblagon Zichvorav al Keratim Vayudim Shabo. In that book, respectively, it will state about Melamed Gam She'inom B'nei Brit Parash Yadav Lehem Dai Machosaram. That's another teaching of his, just using the Hayami website as a resource. Another teaching says, I think once again from the same book, from page 129, once again it's printed from Machon Yad Ben Tzvi in 1989, teaches Melamed Shulam Shelehavat Ayudot Yahayahudut Ba'or Toch Meshchiyot Libam Hatahor. Another important teaching he would have over here. Now I think come up page 134, he will teach Melamed Simcha She'osim Ledorot B'yom Shepatat Nafsham Malilat Dam. That's another teaching of his over here. There's a whole article with what he said. Then another one that comes from page 133. He teaches over Melamed Shahayu Osim Mikveh Mayim Betoch Chatzer Beitam Mipachad Agoyim. So that was important of how he held within regards to Mikveh, ritual purity, family purity. And last teaching, I think, that comes from page 135, if I'm mistaken, he teaches Melamed Shelo Yikach Isha Una'ar Yoshev Bebeit Aviv. That's what another piece of advice he gives inside this book over here. He was a famous rabbi of his time. Rabbi, I think we've mentioned about on various occasions before. There's a whole article, as we said before, from the Parsi.fr within regards to him as a very, very good resource. It's got like literally hundreds of pages within regards to him, how will testify how he was 58 years, also the rabbi of the time. It's actually interesting. A side note, I think the family name Iblagon, it actually originates from the town of Aragon in Spain. So very interesting. And why was he called Bechor? That was another one of his names, because he was the eldest son. He became qualified to perform circumcisions and to work as a scribe. And at the age of 22, is ordained already as a rabbi, which is a phenomenal achievement. Let's just say excelling in, excellent abilities and efficiencies, let's just say, of itself. So, this article itself, which was done really, really much, would just encompass his life, talking about how he was invited to different places. He would actually succeed, I think, another famous rabbi, Rabbi Moshe Ashkenazi, as a chief rabbi of the island. So it was Rabbi Moshe Ashkenazi was the rabbi, before him. And so he would move, I think, Constantinople to the Ottoman Empire, and had difference of opinions, I think, with other rabbis in cities. This was in the 1870s, I believe. He arrived in Crete in 1876, and he was, let's just say, the terminology he himself would use, according to the article, was to be the tail of a lion, let's just say, but serving holiness at the same time. And in his entire life, he spent crouching under the burden of the community, standing before the flock to lead them. I think, quoting a second letter from that point in time. Nevertheless, he maintained his close connections with Jewish figures in Constantinople, and as a member of the Association for the Language of Zion, he was involved, let's say, inter alia, in the planning of a Hebrew school in the Ottoman capital. That's what's reported over. He was fluent in several languages. He was a spiritual leader. He was a public figure. He didn't hesitate to get involved with political issues, and obviously there were personal risks for him within regards to that. And he would officiate in Crete, obviously, for that period of time, and would do huge things. And I think Canada had some sort of relationship with them, if I'm not mistaken, especially in the year 1884. Yeah, but there's this entire article really goes into his life in a great bit of depth. Hopefully, maybe we'll do another separate video, maybe speaking about this entire breadth of an article, which I would recommend everyone to do. So that's very, very interesting. We spoke about a famous rabbi today, Rabbi Abraham Iblagon, a great rabbi of Crete, of that specific point in time, and one that would really, really, let's just say, make his mark in that specific era in of itself. And that's something that we really, really do have to point out within regards to him. There's more information, I believe, about him, which you can find on the internet and on other places also, which talks about that. Just to clarify, I think he was born actually in Istanbul, which is interesting. Obviously became the chief rabbi of Crete. I was so committed to the Jewish community that during the First World War and following the Greco-Turkish War, he undertook the religious education of children of refugees and founded a school for them. A great personal risk, let's just say, that happened to have been to himself, respectively. So over here we're speaking about famous Rabbi Abraham Iblagon, a famous rabbi of his time. So if any of you it happens to be his Hilula this week, so please don't forget to light candles in memory. I don't think we've spoken about another rabbi here in the island of Crete, respectively, over here. So it's always good to speak about a rabbi that really makes a, let's just say, a largish impact, respectively, over here. So he was the rabbi of Crete, Rabbi Abraham Iblagon. So really, really great rabbi of his time. So that I think we did mention about him in previous occasions, but it's always good to speak about him again, that's for sure. So that's that's very, very interesting. So friends, he passed away in 1933. That means we're talking about 92 years ago here from the time of recording. So it wasn't that long ago, but long enough, let's just say, which we also have to point out. So please, friends, everyone, we're a community here. We're learning about famous rabbis of yesteryear, famous Jewish personalities, and how important it is actually to do that. Now, if you descend from any of the great rabbis we happen to be speaking about here on this series, please send me an email now. I would love to hear more information about the great Chacham in of itself, respectively. So please don't forget to subscribe and learn more within regards to him. Now, if anyone is interested in watching these videos, please share these videos also to other people. Tell the people to join our community now. We're fast-growing Torah community. We love learning about Torah. We love learning about Jewish history per se, and connecting with other people has been a dream and very much something that's let's just say definitely come true quite recently, which is very, very important to say. So that's Rabbi Iblagon. So that's a famous, let's say, well-decorated rabbi of his time, without a doubt. And yeah, very interesting. So friends, please let me know if you would like anything dedicated or anything like that. I'm more than happy to do it. We spoke about Rabbi Iblagon here today in today's page. And we're going to hopefully speak about a lot more different great rabbis with a lot of great wisdom of yesteryear. So I think on that note, I will...
Shalom everyone, a huge quote to have Rabbi Ezra Tawil HaKohen to give some words with regards to...
we're talking on video territory. So another video just came up over here. So that's very interesting. We're talking about Rabbi Iblagon today in this special edition. He was a famous rabbi, as I mentioned before, in Crete. And if you descend from any of the great rabbis, please let me know. And please, friends, join the different videos that we're doing, different tours that we're doing, and become part of it, very much so. And it's really tremendously help Am Yisrael and see us go as a community from strength to strength. So very, very interesting. We've spoken already about 1,350 biography videos of great rabbis of yesteryear here inside the series. So that's another thing that we have to point out. So if you descend, as we said before, from any of these great rabbis, please let me know more information. I'd love to hear more on them, and so on and so forth. So we just really mostly predominantly explore video highlights of famous rabbis that happen to have been from Ottoman countries, from North African countries, and Spanish countries also, respectively. So those are really the places that we are aiming for over here. So anyone that's got more ideas of great rabbis or someone we missed out, please, I think that's something we definitely would like to know ASP on all the information within regards to the great person. So once again, wishing you all blessings here from Israel. Take care and be well. Thank you.